Live. Haven't done a live stream, Justin. I actually looked at it and checked
Senior
at
Bowl.
it. We haven't done it live since the Senior Bowl, and I don't even know if I would technically count that. Our actual just a live like Q&A session. It was the Bears. It was Bears Sunday. It was the our pregame show. That was the last time we did a live, so it feels good to get back in the swing
Miss
of
those
things.
days.
Yeah, that whole month of December of the season. I mean, it was like it had more storylines than a foreign 13 team should have.
Weiss, Dave Gettleman was the general manager of the Giants at that time. Can you believe that?
And Kevin Abrams was supposed to be his heir apparent. Remember?
Can you believe that? Like that was a time that we experienced.
I mean, we assumed Joe Judge was still going to be the head coach. I mean, it was a time to be alive. So we're going to be doing these all draft month with different guests. We're going to have on Football Grump. We're going to have a bunch of people on, but we're kicking it off with Weiss of at NYG Daily.
I'm the first one, right?
Yeah, first one of draft month.
I've
been talking with you like we got to get you on a live. We just haven't done live. So
you've been taking a lot of shots at me lately, so I had to.
You know what? I have enjoyed that. It's like, you know what? I'm just gonna every time he tweets, I'm gonna take a shot, figure out a way to take a shot at him. Although I do hate mock draft trades more than anything in the world.
Listen, I was having some fun. I woke up, I was like, let me just do a mock draft. I haven't tweeted in a couple days. But I actually had people reach out to me like, hey, you and Bobby, you guys don't like each other? And after like the second person, I'm like, yeah, I really don't like the guy. And every chance I get, I'm just gonna rip him apart, or at least try to.
Yeah. Like, we've got a couple of that. This just hit me. You're in the DC. How far are you away from Charlotte, North Carolina?
Far.
Ooh, I would say I'm more closer to New Jersey, New York than I am Charlotte. I'm like 6 hours out of North Carolina.
Oh, because we're doing a live event in Charlotte, North Carolina, end of May. Maybe you can pop your way there, jump on the show. But anyways, we're here to talk about the New York Giants. Going to talk about the draft. We will, talk about basically who do we want to take at 5 and 7 the entire time. So hit us with some questions in the chat, and ones that aren't, who are we going to pick at 5 and 7? We'll be there. But because we do have a guest on,
yes.
What are you looking for at 5 and 7?
Yeah.
Okay, so at 5, so I've taken like some of the top 10 prospects and I've divided them into 2 tiers. So my first tier is you have the 2 tackles, Ike Ekwonu and Evan Neal. By the way, I think Evan Neal is my A1. If you're asking me if I had the choice to pick a player, I'm picking Evan Neal.
Yeah.
Ekwonu, Neal, and then you got the 2 pass rushers, Kayvon Thibodeau, Aiden Hutchinson. And then you have Ahmad Gardner in the corner. Those are like my tier 1. If they draft any of those at 5, I'm happy. I'm even at the point where I'm like, it would have to be a really, really good trade offer for me to pass up on one of those guys. Like, I love those 5 guys. And then in that second tier, I have like Kyle Hamilton, Trayvon Walker, Charles Cross, Jermaine Johnson, and even like a guy like Derek Stingley Jr. Those are like the guys like at 7. So if that second tier group, if they were to take one of those at 5, I would be like, I'm not going to be mad, but I'll be like, you better be right about this one. But that's the way I have it. Now, a lot of people, they want to say, take the talent at 5, and then at 7, you want to trade down. That's sort of where I am. But if you look at the way this draft is sort of shaking out, they could have a chance of getting 2 of those tier 1 guys at 5 and 7. Like they could get Neal at 5, Gardner at 7, or Thibodeau at 7, or something like that. So it's they have a chance to walk out of here with 2, I think, really, really, really good prospects, and I think that would help them a lot, especially in 2 areas of need. If you talk about edge rusher and offensive line.
Yeah, I mean, they seem dead set on taking offensive tackle at one of those 2 spots.
Yes.
Because I mean, it's the biggest hole in the team, and they didn't do anything for it in free agency. You have, right now their 2 right tackles would be Matt Gano, who missed the entire season with a neck injury, and then Matt Parrott, who tore his Achilles. So essentially, like, you don't really have anything safe there. Like, not even a Mike Remmers, Cam Fleming type, where it's like, okay, like, it's not the best situation, but we can get through a season with this guy starting. And both those guys are better than what we had in Nate Solder this past season. Once we get to 5, and if we get one of those tackles, like, I'm breathing easy, because, like, all right, 7, I know we're just going to take a great player, unless they throw us a curveball. But it's like I'm just anxious about getting Neal or Ekwonu
Mhm.
at 5 because my biggest fear is taking Charles Cross because I'm just not the biggest Charles Cross fan. I think I just don't think he's ever going to be a great player, and there's other great players on the board. Thibodeau, like you mentioned, the other pass rushers, even if, hey, I'm not the big Trayvon Walker fan, but if they drafted him, it's like, okay, like, you know what? They're betting on some freaking, like an unreal, like not unseen, but like an unreal talent,
Athletic profile.
where I just don't know if Charles, like he can be great. I don't know if Charles Cross will ever be great. I think he can be a decent tackle. Like, he'll be better than what we've had the last 10 years at right tackle, but I don't know if he'll ever be a great player.
Are you kind of banking on Weiss right now? Because I know you and Ethan going back on your show. Thank you, Christopher. I am looking very cute. I've lost a lot of weight.
Slim down. I was about to say too.
Thank you.
It's actually it's. I saw your bowling picture last night, Justin, on your Instagram
the video.
story.
Yeah,
I saw that too. I was like, man, you are looking a little slim.
Yeah, I think I'll be the one to probably pick you up from the airport when you come for the draft. So then you'll really see, because I'm like, it looks like old me ate new me, really.
Yeah, you're gonna make me feel like shit.
Weiss, something that I'm going back and forth on, and you and Ethan have talked for years about value and garnering value, garnering draft picks. That's something that you guys have talked about year in and year out. You've had your podcast NYG Weekly for years now. So where is your brain on? I think we're all at 5 tackle or bust, like tackle, like let's get that tackle at 5, but then 7, there's some things opening. You talked about how you're open to tiers of players. Are you, if one of those tier 1 guys isn't there, are you automatically saying, I really want the Giants to trade down? How are you approaching 7? And are you thinking about 2023 first round draft picks to possibly trade up to possibly get a quarterback? Or are you thinking about adding talent right now? Like, where's your mindset? I'm looking at that.
Well, first of all, I think since you've lost weight, you've also lost a little bit of your math skills too, because I named 5 tier 1 prospects.
Oh,
so one of them is going to be there. Now, if you're asking me, like, what would it take for me to pass up on one of those tier 1 guys, right?
Yeah,
it would have to be like, how far am I going down? Like, if am I going down to 9 for the Seahawks? Then we can talk like, okay, there's 2 second-round picks and a third or something like if they don't want to give up a 1. Obviously, if I move down from 5, I want a first-round pick, and I want a good first-round pick, or if, depending on how far I go down, multiple first-round picks. But I just don't think right now, like, I don't think New Orleans is coming up, and I don't want 15 and 16 wherever they are. I want first-round picks next year, but the trade they did with the Eagles, that sort of eliminated that. I don't think Pittsburgh is coming up that high. So I don't know how much interest they can get with 5. I think realistically speaking, the trade interest at 5 could be a team like Atlanta or a team like, Seattle, or even the Jets I'll throw in there, who really want to get that second tier 1 prospect. You know what I mean? They have the assets to do it. I just don't see a blockbuster trade, where they, like last year, where they get a 1 and move down 9 spots. I just don't. I don't realistically see that.
Yeah, because I go back and forth right now, with specifically at 7. Like, if Sauce and Tibbs, if they aren't there, and it's like, oh crap, what are we going to do? Where are we going to turn? And really, you can make the argument that is a Jermaine Johnson, Charles Cross, one of those guys, or is it worth it at 7? So. But even just outside of prospect wise and who's on the board, who's not on the board, my brain goes to the Giants have a QB1 problem. It may not be immediate right away this year, but the NFL is a league where if you don't have a great quarterback, or if you're not trying to develop a great quarterback, then you have a QB problem, and you should be thinking about what you're going to be doing at QB1. And I would like to think that the Giants this year, a goal should be to be better than 2021. And that's not lofty. Winning more than 4 games is not a lofty goal, but they could be picking outside of the top 7, top 10 next year. And then if there's a quarterback that interests them and they want to trade up, are they going to be diving into their draft capital and giving that up for years to come? That's a situation that I want to avoid. So I'm going back and forth on adding talent right now, but also keeping QB1 in the back of my brain.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you want to accumulate draft picks because of the uncertainty at quarterback, but like with 7, like I just sit here and I think it out, right? Like if, let's say Malik Willis falls out of the top 5 and Carolina doesn't take him at 6 and you're sitting at 7, you know, if you're the Seattle Seahawks, let's say Seattle likes him at Seattle likes him, would take him at 9, you know, is Atlanta taking a quarterback? Like how much would Seattle be willing to give up to go from 9 to 7 or 9 to 5? Because if he gets past Carolina, then the only one they got to worry about is Atlanta. So then when you look past that, like where find me that team that's like, I want to go get that quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean,
and I also don't stress it too much either about like the whole getting a QB next year. Because one, so much has to happen. And you know what? Like, yeah, we may have ability to trade up, but there's a good chance that, you know, there's 2 or 3 QBs and those picks are already in the top 3, top 4, you know, and they're not wanting to trade out. So it's like, again, it's a good to think about it, but I don't want to like bend over crazy. Like we have to do this to trade up to get a QB next year. And again, we don't know how to, like, you know, I sincerely doubt, you know, Bryce Young and CJ Stroud will be the 1-2 QB in the draft next year right now because they play at Alabama and Ohio State and put up big numbers. They are. But you know what? I watch a lot of Alabama guys and teams that play Alabama, and I don't view Bryce Young as a slam dunk top, you know, 2 QB. So, and again, there's guys that come out of nowhere. We see it all the time. So I try to I don't really stress about that. I just, as far as a trade back, it's like, hey, if there's good value there and you're not like so in love with the board in front of you and there's like a group of guys you like, then do it. Like do what they did last year if that's there. But again, that might not be there. And, you know, the QB market. I mean, this is a bad quarterback class. We just talked about it on the episode on Tuesday. Like this is a bad, like I like Malik Willis. I think he's worth the first round, but he has a huge flaws too. You know, I sincerely think Daniel Jones would be QB1 and I think the argument would be Jones versus Malik Willis right now. You know, so I don't worry about that. Hold on, we got a chat I want to put up on the screen.
But I do think Malik Willis is going in the top 5. I do believe that. Yes.
Where?
So I think.
I guess we answered this question. Thank you, Tom.
2, Detroit could take him. I'm not too confident saying that. I think a team is coming up. I think maybe Atlanta. I didn't think that before, but now with, you know, everything that happened with Matt Ryan, I think Atlanta, I think Seattle, I think one of those teams is coming up. I don't think, however, a team that trades for them is going to get a first-round pick in return, a future first-round pick. I don't think that's going to happen.
The Falcons are the one that makes the most sense because they have, what, the 8th pick right now?
Yes, 5 is Giants.
So it wouldn't be a huge jump, and a team would feel like, you know, if it was, you know, if it was to us, you know, you can feel a little more comfortable. But you'd have to be trade out of 5, you know, and then it's like you're trading out. Maybe
what was the Colts? What did the Colts get back from the Jets? Because they went from like 6 to 3, right? Was that something like that? It was like
they went from 6 to 3, and I think they got
2
like
seconds
3 or
and a
4
third,
second rounds or something like that.
Something like that. That's a good, like, if you're looking for a good model, that could be a potential like return the Giants or another team in that top 5 could get. I just like, I don't see a team outside the top 10 coming up, like Pittsburgh from 20 to 5. Like, how much is that going to cost? You have to really, really like a guy to go from 20 to 5.
Yeah, I don't see Pittsburgh doing that, to be honest.
No. Mm-hmm.
You know, if Willis is there at like 13 or 14, I could see Pittsburgh trading up. I don't see Pittsburgh trading up all the way up to there. I just don't see that as their style. And they did give Mitch Trubisky a little chunk of change too, you know, but same time, Malik Willis is a QB who does need to sit and learn and grow for, I think, a year. You know, I know there's a rush to play QBs and their fan base will be calling for it when everyone really realizes Mitch Trubisky still sucks. Yeah. But I do think you should be patient. But I just think
that you move up, especially if you move up for a guy.
Yeah. And again, I'm happy with where the Giants are at. I am very happy that we made the trade last year because you know what, you know, it's like, oh, we passed on Rashawn Slater, we passed on Michael Parsons. Well, guess what? We might be in a chance to get a really good offensive tackle and an edge now because of that. which I guess you'd be in and Kadarius Toney, whose name is in the news. I guess we can actually talk about that.
Yes.
We have reached the Kadarius Toney zone where it's like if you have to either be all in or all out on him, and when you're like, so we Justin posted a clip of us talking about it. It's like, yeah, it's not good, and this, again, there's little things that are adding up. And I always said the biggest thing with Kadarius Toney was like his biggest issue last year was skipping OTAs. Like he skipped OTAs last year, and people said, "Oh, it's because contract." No, it wasn't. No rookie ever skips. Like, that's a lie. That's just a flat out lie. Even the fight versus Dallas, is that very stupid? Yes, but I think I don't really care about that much. But we're in this situation where, like, we posted a clip saying, like, yeah, I am a little annoyed by it, and it's like, yep, you get the people saying it's time to trade him. He sucks. He's a bust. It's like, no, I'm still very excited about Kadarius Toney. I'm very, like, if there's one player on this offense I'm the most excited for next year, it's Kadarius Toney. If we're taking out offensive line play and Andrew Thomas, like, I'm so pumped to watch Kadarius Toney in this offense next season. But you can also acknowledge that, like, hey, there's a pattern of things of him just not doing the little things that he should be doing.
Yeah,
it is alarming. But the one thing I will say about Kadarius Toney is the thing that concerns me the most. It's not necessarily the fact that he's skipping OTAs. It's like what you said, Bobby. It's like these small things are starting to, like, build up. Like, the incident in Dallas. You had him skipping stuff last year. You had sort of his weird relationship with the media. Like, it's not a big deal, but, like, things like that are starting to build up, and you're not, like, questioning whether or not this guy is all in. It's just like, man, like.
But there's a pattern.
Exactly. You're like,
yeah.
It just seems to be something's off with him. But I think there's a lot of untapped potential. Like, a lot of times people talk about draft prospects, and we got there's a lot of untapped potential with this guy. Like, that's why Trayvon Walker, right? Like, there's untapped potential. He's a freak athlete. Can someone tap into him? I think Kadarius Toney is sort of similar to that. There is, and I hate when people use the word gadget. Like, he's not a gadget player. I think he's a player.
He's a good wide receiver.
He's a very high ceiling for a receiver. And we saw glimpses of that specifically in the Dallas game of how good of a playmaker he is. In today's NFL, you need playmakers. So, no, I'm not concerned necessarily, but it's like head scratching because you're like, man, this stuff is starting to, like, add on, and you're starting to wonder, like, okay, what's going to happen next? Like,
yeah, you shouldn't be, and no one should be outraged that he missed, that he skipped this first day. Like, you shouldn't be outraged. You shouldn't even be mad, but you also shouldn't just totally ignore it and be like, oh, it's not, man. Like, it's the whole team was there. Like, like, except for James Bradbury, it seemed like everybody was there.
James Bradbury's about to be traded.
Yeah, and that's obviously
It's almost like you got to read the room situation. New head coach, new regime.
Yes.
They've already, like, said how they're sort of committed to you. They view you as a foundational piece. Remember Joe Shane said that? He's not a tradable guy. So just read the room, like, just show up. These attendance things, like, after the first day, nobody really gives a fuck. Excuse me, am I allowed to curse?
Yeah.
Nobody really gives a F, right? Like, after
just
the
don't
first
say
day.
all those words you were saying before we started, but yeah, you're good.
Yeah, so I just think read the room, man. Like, it's just bad optics. Just show up first day and then whatever. But I'm not overly concerned. I just think, like what you said, Bobby, it's like these things are starting to add up.
Yeah, and I love Toney. Like, I love his personality.
Oh, yeah.
I like that fiery personality. But again, it's just, buy him more and ball out and be a good teammate. That's all I ask for. I don't need perfect people. I don't need guys that like all he cares about is rapping. It's like, okay, well then then keep the same energy with Blake Martinez playing Pokemon.
Mm-hmm. Man, you sound like my co-host.
no, I have no problem with it.
Yeah.
If it was,
it's a double standard.
Yeah. So it's like, I don't care about that. It's just do what you need to do, and I feel like there was a reason for him to be there. So
I think there's a big microscope on Kadarius Toney, and here's why. He will forever be tied to that trade the Giants made. Not because where he was picked, but because they took a trade offer and moved back and passed up on two really, really good players in Slater and Parsons. So they're going to always look at Kadarius Toney like, even if they get a good player at 7, it's like it'll always be that conversation if he was that guy that was taken in that trade back. We should have never traded back. I get this in my mentions all the time. I got it a lot that day when OTA started. It was like Kadarius Toney didn't show up. I can't believe we passed on X, Y, and Z to get to move back and draft this guy. Well, it's like you got to look at the entire picture here. But there's always going to be that sentiment toward him, and I think added expectation. It's not his fault, but it's just the way it is.
Yeah, we didn't pass on Rashawn Slater and Micah Parsons to draft Kadarius Toney. We passed on those guys to draft Kadarius Toney, a 3rd-round pick this year, and possibly Kayvon fucking Thibodeau or Sauce Gardner. I feel like that's pretty good, even if Toney doesn't fully work out. All right, hit us with some questions though. We're hitting pod topics. Try and kind of give us something interesting that we all haven't been beating. Don't ask us about Sauce Gardner and picks 5 and 7.
Wow. How about this? Because we just talked loosely about guys, but while we're waiting, this is super chat. Thanks, Thomas. Both Nierquanu are there at 5, and Thib and Gardner at between Kayvon Thibodeau and Sauce Gardner. Who are you taking? So Bobby and I were both on Tibbs just because corner is a little unpredictable when you draft them in the NFL. I mean, I'm a lot more comfortable taking a chance on somebody's 2nd round, 3rd round. But 1st round, I still have that Giants fan PTSD from Baker and Eli Apple. So where are you, Weiss?
Man coverage guys are a little easier to translate into the NFL though, and that's what I like about Sauce Gardner. Like he's a press jam man corner, and he's got 6'3", 34 inch. Like he fits it, where it's like projecting Patrick Surtain is a little more difficult because he played in that Alabama system and played in cover 3 zone a ton. But yeah.
But also you look at the hit rate of edge rushers outside of round 1, and that's also why I lean Tibbs. So where are you?
I love Kayvon Thibodeau and I love Gardner. Like it's so hard for me to decide. I think both personalities, like they're both great for New York. Like listen to Kayvon talk. I mean, he's a perfect personality. And it's funny because the Giants are like they're used to having those strong personalities. When they had Michael Strahan and Justin Tuck and Osi Umenyiora, strong personalities. They knew how to talk to the media. They knew we talk about reading the room. They know how to read the room, And I love Thibodeau, Gardner, man. I loved them for a long time. I started watching Cincinnati in January. Myjai Sanders, one of the first guys I watched. And Gardner was just a guy that I just fell in love with when I was watching the Cincinnati defense. It's tough. It's tough for me to decide between the two. I'm going to lean toward Thibodeau right now just because I'm so hungry for that alpha pass rusher. I've been hungry for it for almost, since 2000. And it's been more than 5 years. So I would love if Kayvon is a Giant. But it's tough for me. I wouldn't be mad with either one.
All right, we have a different 1st round question. Bobby, you are actually just tweeting about this. Why isn't Devin Lloyd considered at 7? We haven't had some playmakers like that in forever. It would
the more that I think about it,
it'd be the first linebacker taken since Carl Banks in the 1st round.
The more that I do think about it, though, is like, okay, say, Thibodeau, Hutchinson are gone, the tackles are gone, Gardner is gone in the top, before we get to pick 7. I actually don't think Devin Lloyd would be a huge, he's an A+ player to me. He does everything well. In coverage, he makes amazing. He's like just good in man and zone. In the run game, he diagnoses quick. He plays up quick. He's fast. He's agile. He makes the tackle. He has actual pass rush moves from a stacked linebacker. A lot of times we talk about this guy's a good pass rusher. No, he just times it up well and there's good scheme. No, you can line him up on the edge and he can use his speed, bend the corner, and use his hands. So the more that I think about it, I don't think Lloyd would be a reach at 7. That just in my mind, I feel like there's going to be Gardner or Thibodeau there, or even maybe Jermaine Johnson, or pick your favorite edge 3, fill in the blank there.
I like Devin Lloyd more than Charles Cross, though.
Yes, I would much rather take Devin Lloyd over Charles Cross.
Yeah, absolutely.
I am a huge Devin Lloyd fan too. Yeah, he's sort of like Micah Parsons light a little bit in terms of how you can move him around.
And I think he's better at playing off-ball linebacker than Micah Parsons, but Micah Parsons is a much better pass rusher.
Right.
And the only kind of argument against Devin Lloyd, especially if you're not trading back, right? Which I don't think that's what we're advocating for, but in this scenario, the reason why you don't take Lloyd at 7 is because this is such a deep interior linebacker class where you can get a Leah Chanel, you can get a Quay Walker, you can get somebody like that second, third round after. I just finished Rodriguez from Oklahoma State, and there's mocks of him going like the 4th, 5th round. So you can get another really good interior linebacker. And you don't need him to start right away because you have Blake Martinez for a year, and then if Tate Crowder is your rotational piece, if somebody needs to kind of develop, that's awesome. So that's the argument against Devin Lloyd.
Let's
that
see.
Early.
Who's your tight end? This question remind me. Who's like the tight end that like you have that's like on your eye? Not like not even who do you think is the best tight end, but like this guy in this round I would love.
I watched tight ends very early on. There's the tight end at Washington, Cade Otton.
Cade Otton. He's actually one of the only ones I haven't watched yet. Because he didn't play at the Senior Bowl.
Like him, he's a very old school tight end. Doesn't like to wear gloves. I mean, he can block. I like him. He's also very good looking too. But no, he can play. Yeah, he's I think he's an all around tight end, especially a guy. It's funny when I was watching him. I remember a lot of the big boards in the mocks early on had him as like a second, third round pick. Now he's sort of fallen to 4th or 5th. I don't think that's a knock on him. I think that's more of people realizing how good this tight end class is.
Yeah, and he had an injury too.
Yeah, he did have an injury. Another one was
he's an all right looking dude.
The Iowa State tight end,
Charlie Kohler.
Yes, like him too. I like my tight ends who can block and catch.
I'm with you, Weiss.
Yeah,
I'm at this point. Yeah, I'm at this point where I'm sick and tired of the day that I started podcasting. Is Evan Ingram is a willing blocker. He's gonna try really hard. Like I'm at this point of I don't want a tight end that's just gonna try. I kind of want a tight end that can actually do it.
Yes. You can polish route running. You can't polish blocking.
Yeah.
I was actually just listening to I won't give him a shot, but a podcast, and they're talking about some new trends in the NFL and stuff, and they're actually talking about like a guy like Mike Gesicki, and it's like yeah, he's a really good player, but he's a bad blocker, and like you need to be that spot, you have to be, and with the way like there's more lighter like wider personnel, so more two safeties. It's like you need someone to be like a unreal mismatch, like a Travis Kelce type, to kind of make that like your top investment. And I am like, what, I want a tight end who can block well, and that's why like Jake Ferguson out of Wisconsin is a guy like I want someone who I can trust to block. And I'll go back to Evan Ingram versus Caden Smith. Like, what? Yeah, is Evan Ingram faster? But you know what? When Caden Smith put a slightly less production than him in 2019, blocked better, you could trust him to catch the ball, was a better outlet on checkdowns. Like he did more. And again, having Evan Ingram as a blocker is like, or even Greg Dulcich out of UCLA. Like if they picked him, I'd be excited about, because his speed is really flies.
Right.
And you saw the way the Bills use a guy like Dawson Knox. But it's like, what? Like you're taking a player who is a disadvantage at something that they're supposed to do. So yeah. But and tight end is really a huge need. Like their only tight end is Ricky Seals-Jones and then Chris Myrick. Like, and Ricky, like, you think Evan Ingram's a bad blocker? Evan Ingram looks like George Kittle with next to Ricky Seals-Jones blocking wise.
Not having a tight end who can block is like having a running back who can't catch passes out of the backfield.
Yeah. In reality, yeah. And unless that's like, you have the best runner of all, again, like if you have like a Travis Kelce type or something.
Yeah.
I don't even think Kelsey's the worst blocker either. But.
No, he's not. He can block, but it's not a strong suit.
But tight end is it's a huge need, and I hate that we have so many freaking needs going into this. I mean, we have safeties a huge need now after we cut Logan Ryan. This was the
next question that I kind of had queued up about need safety too after losing, two starters, Peppers and Ryan. And Bobby, I mean, you put out your mock draft video a couple days ago and saw a lot of comments. Love this mock, need a safety. Love this mock, need to take a tight end earlier. Where it's like, well, there's going to be a lot of people and this may even include all of us, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be unhappy at the end of this draft that the Giants did not acknowledge X position. They could acknowledge, 9 different positions of need in this draft, but then they're still going to walk out of the draft and there's still going to be something that's needed, especially when, I'm not even going to say if, when they take this running back in like the 3rd or the 4th round.
Yes.
When they take this running back in the 3rd and the 4th round, when there's a lot of other guys on the board that we like, it's not going to be something that I think is going to be fully embraced, but I get it. So,
yeah, but at the same time, I don't know if I'm on board with taking a running back in the 3rd round.
I don't know if I am either, but you got to. It would mean to me that there's going to be life without Saquon Barkley, and I would take that in a way.
I think them looking at the running back class tells you everything that you need to know about how they feel about their running back room.
Mm-hmm.
They understand it's not just about like what's going to happen after this year. Barkley has missed games in the past. So, and it doesn't seem like he's going to be a part of the future. So they want to be able to get a guy in there that they can build up for 2023. And they also know that they're going to need a guy that can step in there because the current starter misses games. He's not, he's how many games did he miss last year, Bobby? You know this. Come on, think.
I don't know, 4, 3 or 4,
5, something like that. So you have to be prepared for that. And I think that people equating this draft just to this year are making a terrible mistake because they could turn around and take an interior defensive lineman high in this class, and everyone will be like, "What the hell are we doing?" But that tells you what they think about, the 2 guys, Dexter Lawrence, Leonard. Like, we'll learn a lot about their thoughts of this roster after the draft or the future of this roster.
Yeah, there's just so many holes that going into the draft thinking you're going to fill those holes is ridiculous. They're going to especially I think the whole BPA is a myth. Like you just can't reach. Need does matter, especially I think in round 1 and round 2. But when you get to round 4 through 7, I do think it has to be more about best player available because that's where rounds 4 through 7, the likelihood of that guy being a good player are slim. There's a good chance you could turn into an average player, but being a good player is slim. So I'm just all pick whichever player you think is going to be a good player. Don't worry about the position. Now, also have ideas of hey, you know what, we want to invest in O-line, and I've heard the philosophy of draft O-line every single year, draft one every single year, and I actually don't think that's a bad thing. But just overall, I think best we're not going to fill tight end, safety, another running back. Inside linebacker, edge, right tackle, those. Even if they draft every position that they need, do you think those guys are all going to come in and be good? No, they're not.
No, especially not immediately.
Yeah,
that's the one thing about this is people are expecting 5 and 7 to be immediate. Let's say they take Evan Neal or Ike Ekwonu, right? You guys are big Andrew Thomas fans going into the draft, right? Andrew Thomas struggled his rookie year. Not all his fault, but he struggled, and understandably so. I am going into this year thinking the Giants are going to have 2 rookies starting the majority of their games in 2022. That right there tells me that there's going to be growing pains. And that's fine as long as they work out in the long term. That's why this immediate, they're going to immediately be good. I don't see that. I think that that's unrealistic that people think that all of a sudden Barkley's going to look like he did his rookie year. Daniel Jones is going to I don't see it. I think there's going to be this offense is going to struggle. It's a new offense, and there's going to be a lot of new pieces.
Weiss, but let me ask you this. Define struggle, because if 2020 and 2021 wasn't the definition of struggle, and this year they're still struggling, but they're getting close to average, the offense is going to look light years better than it did in 2020 and 2021. People don't give 2020 enough credit about how bad that offense was. It was not explosive. I mean, it was Wayne Gallman
31st.
Wayne Gallman being efficient, and they were moving the ball a little bit for a couple weeks there, but then again, a Daniel Jones injury derails momentum. Right. If the Giants offense can still struggle this year, but again, going back to my point earlier about the Giants should be better. And
absolutely,
they can still struggle, but they can be better.
They should be better. What you want to see is to go like this. You want it to go up,
Yeah.
right, as the season progresses. Whereas the previous years, it just always was going down, and it was never trending upward at all, or rarely did. That's what I'm saying. Like with 2022, because it's a new offense, because you're going to be, having new pieces on your offensive line, like it's going, and on top of the fact that there's a lot of question marks about some of these players that people think are going to suddenly, play a lot better than what they've been the first 3-4 years of their career. Like I think it's going to be struggle, and then that improvement is going to come, hopefully, right? But I just don't think it's going to be like immediate. Like, okay, Evan Neal, we're good. Like, no, I think there's going to be struggles early on.
But I also them playing right tackle instead of left tackle will be able to hide some of their struggles. Abe, Chelsea, can you find this guy's super chat so he can stop crying like a baby? Bitch?
Abe is being a baby. And also the question of talking about John Mara is not really something that we want to talk about right now. But,
don't run the show, Abe.
Yeah, really.
Send me your Venmo. I'll Venmo you $10 to get you.
He has a Ben McAdoo, what is it, profile picture.
Yeah.
And he's asking us if we're concerned about John Mara commenting on We're Not Shopping.
I'm concerned about you commenting on my stream, you baby back bitch. Grim Solo, did any?
Thank you for the $5, Abe.
Did any 2023 QBs jump out at you while looking at this class? Levis from Kentucky actually does look pretty interesting, but again, no. I mean, I paid attention to Bryce Young a little bit watching because you watch so much Alabama in the draft process every single year. He's got definitely tools, but also it's like here's what's so annoying about the QBs that play the big schools is they have some like really bad plays and big mistakes, but they don't get remembered because their mistakes get overlooked because their teams are just so dominant. Like Bryce Young had this. I can't remember who was. It might have even been versus Arkansas, and he had this wide ass open touchdown. I mean, just wide open, and he overthrows it by like 20 yards. I'm like, what the hell? And that's not the discount, but it's, you got to watch these guys more closely than just watching some college football on Saturday.
Can I say something about the 2023 quarterback class right now? It's early. It's very, very early. I don't even know if it's early. It's like, is there anything earlier than early?
Very.
I'm not in love. Like, it's not like, man, I want to tank for that guy, or I hope Bryce Young I like, but am I like sucking for this? Like,
that's why we're paying. It's why we're paying Tyrod Taylor in 2023, baby.
We're
doing it.
It can change. It can change. Like we can go into the next college football season and like some of these guys take off and we're like, holy crap. But like,
yeah, don't talk about QBs 1 year too early. You're gonna end up I have like a strong policy of not doing that. Am I crazy or isn't restructuring Leo? No, do not restructure Leo's contract to keep Bradbury and drafting Neal, Icky, and Kate. I like that idea, but I do think they should move off of Bradbury because he's not going to be the greatest fit in Wink's system.
What do you guys think about Bradbury, the whole situation?
I like what Shane's doing. I like that he's playing hardball. Like I think a draft pick is more valuable than 2023 cap space. So if you got to restructure it, like draft picks are valuable. So I it's one of the things I've liked most that Shane has done so far is not just cut him for nothing because you know what,
they're just given
like believing that someone's going to be out there. But I will say I think the whole Bradbury is not good in man conversation wouldn't be as prevalent if the Giants could get a pass rush even when they're blitzing. Like versus the Broncos, it was like, we played a lot of man and it didn't work. It's like, yeah, well, we were like blitzing 5 and 6 and we still couldn't get.
We were blitzing like over like almost 50% of the time, and Teddy Bridgewater still had an average time to throw of over 3 seconds. It was insane. I've never seen anything like that.
People are like, why does Patrick Graham play this soft defense? It's like, well, you know what? We tried the blitz and we couldn't even get to the quarterback then.
Do you guys have an NFL League Pass, right?
Yeah.
Have you guys ever just gone back and watched one of the games, just the offensive plays?
Not since the off season started.
Yes, what I would do is, I would go through every Monday and try and find every run of 10 plus yards, pass of 15 plus yards, and every play of 20 plus yards. And that's something that I would do every single week, and it's fun.
I'm talking like
take me that long.
It's been like what? Like we're in April. It's been what? 4 months since the season ended. I'm talking like go back. I did this the other day. I went back and I watched the Monday night Tampa Bay game, and You just have to go back and watch it and just think to yourself, like, what the hell am I watching?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm sitting there watching the Giant offense. It was a Tampa Bay game. It was one other. I think I watched the Philadelphia game, not the one that Fromm started. They played a game. When did they played Philly?
The Bears, when they had -10 passing yards.
No, not that one. It was the Eagle. They played the Eagles when Jake Fromm started. That was the second time they played the Eagles, right? The game that they won.
Yeah.
Where you keep posting about the dude that's
Where
crying.
Jones got hurt. That was the game that Jones got
No,
hurt.
that the game that we beat. That was the first Freddie Kitchens game where Daniel Jones got hurt.
13-7. That one.
Yeah.
Watch that game too. To this day I don't know how we won that game.
That was at that game. That game was nuts.
You burned down the stadium. You tried.
The first thing they won 13-7. Bobby, you kept posting about their left tackle that was crying. Remember?
Oh yeah, I love that. People were like, Eagles fans get so butthurt when you get to like, it's a guy that who cares. It's like, I'm just trolling you.
What did you lose the state championship game? In high school. There's a
Dude,
question
they lost
that
a November game, and this dude is crying. Like,
there's a
seriously.
question that I'm sitting on, Bobby, and I really want to ask this to you.
If you watch that game, you'll know why he was crying, because you're like, I would cry too if I lost that game.
And he killed Darnay Holmes. I have no sympathy for that big idiot.
There's a question that I'm really sitting on, and I've been thinking about it more and more. If the Cowboys were smart, Kenyon Green or Zion Johnson would be Cowboys, and I think that would make you cry. So Here's my question to you, now that you can't see the question on the bottom. Where would you take Zion Johnson, Kenyon Green in the first round?
Me?
Yes,
I think Kenyon Green's worth a top 15 pick. I think Zion is like top 15 to 25. Yep. But Zion kind of fits. Let me just shout him out instead of, not doing. I was listening to the Athletic Football podcast today, and they're like, all the best guards in the NFL today, their athletic profile is Zion Johnson, which was like, that's pretty interesting. These guys who are really good in these agility sessions, good pass blockers, and they're like, that's pretty interesting. But at the end of the day, film tells me Kenyon Green's better than Zion Johnson. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I love both those cats. I think Kenyon Green, since we've been doing this at Talking Giants, I think Kenyon Green's the best guard to come out.
Over Zion Johnson?
Yeah. Okay. I think he's better than Elijah Vera Tucker last year, who I liked a lot. The year before, there wasn't really any guards in 2020, was there?
No, it was just tackles.
Shane Lemieux. Not on the top of my head.
I'm with you, Bob. I think both of them, like we talk about trade back, like if the Giants go back to 20 or something, I would jump for joy if it's Kenyon Green or Zion Johnson. I think both are first round picks. I'll tell you this. I'd take them both over the Iowa center, Linderbaum.
Oh yeah, that's an absolutely for me.
Yeah.
Linderbaum got like hyped up way too much in like the December, like before the draft actually started, because PFF graded him as like the greatest player ever. And PFF's, you think their NFL grades suck? Their college grades are horrible. They have like freshmen who like have never played football or coached football grading them. Like it's fans of those teams. Anyways, like their college stuff is horrible. They'll be like, this guy didn't have any drops his entire time in college. It's like, I watched him. He did have drops.
Linderbaum might be there at 36.
Yeah. So I've been seeing Kenyon Green and Zion Johnson pop up when you look at the mock drafts at 36, and I'm just kind of ignoring that. But if they're there, man, like if they're there, Friday night, date before day 2 starts, my whole day is just like, please God, let Kenyon Green be there, and please let the Giants pick him if he's there.
I got those 2 tackles, Neal and Ekwonu. Then right under there, I got Charles Cross, but after Charles Cross, I have the 2 guards, Green and Zion Johnson.
Yeah.
Trevor Penning and Tyler Linderbaum is under those 2 guards, in my opinion. There you go, right on cue.
That is definitely true. I do like Penning. I think he's gonna figure some stuff out, But yeah, there is issues. Like he's he's not like in that top tier, It's too much strength, not enough technique with Penning. I mean, there was time he was giving up pressures and losing reps for small school guys at times, but he did look good at the Senior Bowl. Wasn't perfect, but he did look good. So I like Penning, and I think he's got the profile of someone who's going to get better in the league. Where with Cross, with Cross, I worry that I just don't know how much better he's going to get. And you know what, those wide splits at Mississippi State, it just makes it so much easier. There's times where he's losing reps, but it's not even close to a pressure because of how wide their splits are. And watching versus Sam Williams, Sam Williams won the battle versus Charles Cross. So PFF's pressure stats on Charles Cross are just not true. And Duo Barrel Roll says, I actually this has been kind of out there. I agree with that. I love that out of him. He needs to clean some stuff up, but I don't that doesn't worry me. What worries me is him being able to get a more consistent pass set, being able to get out to that third step more often. Richard Wolf, if is the Nick on Thibodeau's character I saw Nick, I was thinking Knicks and Tom Thibodeau, which the Nets and the Knicks are playing right now. I'm not watching it, and someone tweeted,
"What is going on with the Nets and their playoff spot?
Oh my God, we're down by 22. We're going to be in the play-in game. Wow, we're going to lose to the Knicks for the first time in 800 days. Congrats, Knicks fans. Just the yearly guy that gets digged by the media. I read that several teams said he had poor interviews. Yeah, he says some dumb stuff, but at the end of the day, it's about being a baller at your position and being a good teammate, which I think Thibodeau is. But he does say stupid stuff, but I don't think it's anything to I don't think he takes plays off. I think that's a totally made up talking point.
No, he definitely doesn't. Definitely doesn't. Don't even know where did that just come from? Fans that he left the combine early.
We did do that.
But is that why people correlate him leaving the combine early? Okay, this guy doesn't care and he takes plays off. People just go to that. Stretch.
No, I heard media people say it. And I didn't see it there.
What'd you guys think of Shane going from the owners meeting, traveling cross country to Oregon's pro day?
Beautiful. I love.
To me, that was pretty telling.
Joe Douglas wasn't there. Just the defensive coordinator.
Daniel Falele or Abraham Lucas? I haven't watched Lucas yet, but I like Falele more than most people do. I think he's pretty good.
The weight.
Falele's that 6'7" dude from Minnesota, right?
Yeah, 380 pounds. I actually like him a lot. And again, he's not going to be put in the issues. If you put him in vertical sets, he's going to have issues. But one, he's going to be at right tackle, so there's not going to be much need for vertical sets. And Bobby Johnson doesn't really even believe in vertical sets. The only thing that's if there wasn't a fear of 387-pound guy, can he hold up in the league health wise? That's the only thing that keeps me from being he should be a first round pick. But
I'm with you, Bobby. Because you see it right now with Becton, with bad weight. He was at a point where he actually was in a good weight spot, but then he got hurt and he added more bad weight back on. And then there was also when you have the Jordan Davis conversation, which I would love to have, when we actually, when we're on the draft stream itself and when he's taken, depending on how high he goes, because there's people like Brett Coleman saying that he should go third to the Jets, which is absurd. But is he too big and a guy that's only on the field for, like a Dalvin Tomlinson, when you're only on the field for 60% of the time, how valuable are you? So.
Carlos Lugo, have you watched Ekwonu in 2020 at left? I actually haven't. I'm waiting to get the all 22 of Ekwonu versus Jermaine Johnson to do a break, because I'm going to do a breakdown on him. It'll probably be the last one I do because I'm holding out for that FSU.
There wasn't that many reps though.
There's a good. I mean, it's I want to show those, because Jermaine Johnson did get the best of him a few times. But no, I haven't watched that yet, but I probably will. How far would you willing me to trade back into round one? I don't know. It's got to be the right deal. I trade back super far if someone team's offering 4 first-round picks.
I'll trade back to the moon as long as you give me something that's worth it.
Yeah. All right, we're at 50 minutes, so we'll close out here in a second. Yeah, do a barrel. It's been a pain in the ass. And speaking of Brett Coleman has it. He was posting those clips. I need to just find out. I gotta ask it.
This is something too. Eli brings up a good point where why all of my NFL takes that I've had recently are just Eagle and Cowboy takes because I'm kind of fascinated by those teams just from an unbiased NFL standpoint. I'm fascinated by the Eagles because I was kind of clamoring for them to trade for Derek Carr if the Raiders were willing to do that, with new regime going in there. Like, they had the draft capital to trade for Derek Carr. And tell me that if the Eagles add a quarterback like Derek Carr, like if they pull like getting a veteran QB, if they pull one of those moves, do they not become one of those teams in the NFC that you really fear? That is up there with, it's a shame that Brady's back, but right up there with the Bucs, the Packers, and the Rams. Like, they're getting there.
I would say if they would add Derek Carr, the NFC is so weak. So
Yes.
yes,
That's
you
why
would,
they
but
think they should do it, and they should do it now, and they shouldn't wait. But what do I know?
That's what's so surprising to me about Dallas's offseason is you look and see what happened in the NFC, and you look and see like Green Bay got weaker. I mean, I know Brady came back, but he's still 45 years old. It just surprises me that Dallas took this approach.
And they're probably going to draft a wide receiver. They're probably going to draft a wide receiver in round 1, which that makes little sense to me too. And they paid Gallup all that money, and he's coming off the ACL, so it's going to take him probably until 2023 to fully bounce back, because that's just what happens when you come off the torn ACL. It takes you 2 years to fully recover. So bizarre. Like, I think Dallas should take that lineman, that interior O-line. I think they should do it, but they probably won't.
NFL Network is playing a 2002 Week 6 Chiefs versus Chargers game. Drew Brees, and his arm wasn't even that strong then. Yeah, Dallas. I'm done on Dallas. Like, I get fooled every year the first 8 weeks of the season. Like, they're balling on offense, and I'm just not falling for it anymore. I'm no longer falling for the Dallas Cowboys and Dak Prescott ever again. They're going to have a great week 1 to week 8. They're going to, Dak Prescott will be in the MVP conversation, and then they will fizzle out and suck first good teams. It happens literally every single year.
Every year. Let me ask you guys a question. And this is something that I think about a lot, especially going into the draft. Obviously, the Giants are going to draft the offensive tackle at either 5 or 7, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys think, and this is thinking down the road, and I might be overthinking it, let me know. They have a young stud left tackle in Andrew Thomas. And it doesn't matter who they draft, whether it's Neal, Ekwonu, whatever, they're going to be the right tackle. Not just 2022, but beyond. Given what happened with Orlando Brown in Baltimore, do you think down the road that right tackle will stand up and say, I want to be a left tackle, trade me?
I think Neal might, because hasn't Neal been adamant about kind of being a left tackle?
Well, he worked out as a right tackle at his pro day.
And he looked better at right tackle at left than he did at left tackle. Honestly,
I know he worked. I mean, he worked out.
So does Orlando Brown. Orlando Brown was a lot better at right tackle than he was at left tackle in Kansas City this past year.
Honestly, if we're in a spot where both of our tackles are so good that they both want to be left tackle, thank God Almighty, I will deal with that issue.
So it's a good issue to have, is what you're telling me.
Yeah. I'm praying that we have that issue down the road.
That's not me saying I'm not taking them. It's just something that it just popped in my head when I think about it. Like, what happens if 3 years from now he goes, "Hey man, I want to be a left tackle." Then what?
It's great. It's a good. I still think it's a good problem.
It is. It's definitely a good problem, but it's a problem still.
Yeah.
You just throw them a lot of money and be like, we'll give you left tackle money.
We'll give you money.
Yeah.
Like, dude, you just won a Super Bowl with us. What more could you want? That's what we'll say to him. And damn it, I'm so excited to just be good again. And I don't know. All right. Someone asked how the school bus is, which I was thinking about bringing that to North Carolina.
Are we going to pee in a bottle?
What?
We have to look at the question that's on the screen.
Nah, we got to recreate. We got to create our new things, not trying to.
We actually have to. Should we plan that out or let it become authentic on that 7-hour day 3
We always think of stuff. We don't want to. We don't want to. Be make.
So what are you guys doing in North Carolina or Carolina?
It's so stupid, but I'm pumped for it. A lot of our most loyal day one listeners and supporters are from North Carolina. It's just. Like, it's just Justin Penn 15. It's weird. Like, some of our most so I've always just liked North Carolina, and then we had the idea
I was
Oh.
going down to begin with because I'm a big NASCAR fan. Memorial Day weekend is the race at Charlotte, North Carolina, Charlotte Motor Speedway, the 600-mile race. So I was going down anyway. And Bobby, was saying that, well, we have a ton of our listeners. That's like a good meeting spot. Well, I'm like, well, I'm going. Let's record a podcast the Friday of the truck race at Charlotte Motor Speedway, Friday of Memorial Day weekend. And that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be selling some merch at some discounted prices, and we're going to record like a mailbag pod. So that's what we're doing.
So you're driving to North Carolina to a race speedway
Yes.
to record a football podcast.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. But then
Makes
it's like, but
sense.
it's a Talking Giants experience, and then like we're gonna like the tickets to the race are $20, and it's the lowest level of it, so there's not crowded. So there'll be a party inside there. It's gonna be a good time if you come. Like we'll start promoting it more as May comes around. But like if you come, no one will regret going to that. We're gonna make it worth people's while. It actually started because one of our listeners is a teacher, and we talking about like it's insane that this psychopath is allowed to teach elementary kids.
Yeah, Tim Coffey. Yeah.
We're talking about how to teach like classes they do guest readers, and it'll be like a media just like someone notable will come and read to their class. I wanted to be a guest reader for his class, and he's in North Carolina, so I actually need to message him if he still wants.
You just said the word "come" twice, and it made me think of this thing I tweeted out the other night from while I was editing.
We just had a bunch of guys come. I didn't even see that.
Yeah, I tweeted it out at I think 11 p.m. the other night when I was editing, and I heard that.
We just had a bunch of guys come.
So
had a bunch of guys come.
Yeah.
Since we're ending, I want to just really acknowledge Tommy for one. Tommy, he commented Daniel Jones sucks maybe 45 times during the stream, and I just want to applaud you on the persistence, and we're going to give you a shout out.
That's one less than I did last week.
Oh my gosh, it was just brutal. Edge and offensive tackle in the first, Dewey guard in second. I sure hope.
Hell no, we're going Christian Watson, wide receiver, North Dakota State.
There we go.
Come on, man. Guard in round 2.
All right. We appreciate you guys. Go follow NYG on Twitter at NYG Daily. I said go follow NYG.
Yeah, go follow NYG. Yeah,
at NYG Daily.
Terrible plug.
Appreciate you, all of you guys, except for Abe and Tommy. Spell your name right. See you guys. We're gonna do a live stream next Wednesday, and then the podcast. So see you guys when we see you.